Ecofictologists, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lovis and today I would love to talk to you about Oil on Water by Helon Habila. If you think back to June last year, I did a video highlighting Black voices in Ecofiction, and this book and Helon Habila was one of the authors that I highlighted. I hadn't read it at the time, but I did manage to get to it recently because I have a little Ecofiction book club going on with some colleagues at the university that I go to, and this was one of the books that was chosen to read a couple months ago, and we had a great discussion about it, and now I want to have a great discussion with you about it. Because the book is quite powerful and quite dark, it was really nice to talk it through with people, to kind of digest some of the feelings that I had, because I did have some feelings, and so if any of you have read this, or now want to read it, come back and have a discussion with me in the comments below, what you thought, what you felt, what messages you thought it sent to you, and let's have a discussion. We can have that discussion here, or we can have it on the Rewilding Our Stories Discord server, shameless plug, or we can have it on the Ecofictology Facebook group. All the links are in the description, and I will talk more about them in detail at the end of the video. Small plug for my Patreon here. I will be starting a read-along. If you are interested in what I read every month and want to read along with me and discuss as we go, then head on over to patreon.com/ecofictology and become a patron. Okay, that is enough of that. Back to Oil on Water by Helon Habila, and let's get into it. First up, as always, a spoiler-free summary. Oil on Water is set in the Niger Delta, and it follows two journalists, Rufus and Zach, who are traveling to meet militant kidnappers who have kidnapped the wife of a British oil baron in order to get some attention for the environmental crisis that has been created by the extraction of oil from Nigeria. The story follows Rufus, the point of view character, and Zach as they kind of go on this journey of unexpected twists and turns as they try and find out if this woman is alive and where she is before the husband and the oil company are willing to pay the ransom. Along the way, they see firsthand the devastation that was left behind by oil extraction in these rural places, and the way that the lives of the communities who live there have been drastically changed. Part of what makes this book so powerful, other than the fact that it's well written and emotionally evocative, is the fact that it's a fictional story, but it's set against the backdrop of very real events. Nigeria is one of the top exporters of oil in the world, and people were pushed to violence because the government was not acting to support them, and militant groups were kidnapping people in order to get ransom or to get media attention. This story actually started out as a movie script that Helon Habila was asked to write in 2007 when these kidnappings were in the news and it was very topical, it was getting a lot of attention. The film company wanted to bring out a movie about it. Habila said that they wanted to call it Blood Oil, reminiscent of Blood Diamond. Not sure how in good taste that was. They wanted the story to be all about violence and drama, they wanted to sensationalize it, but Habila really wanted to focus on the environmental message, which he said was the true tragedy here. The communities that had lived on that land for generations and now had to watch it die, poisoned by oil spills and the gas flares lighting up town squares, and the communities forced to leave their homes when the oil company abandoned the area, either because the well wasn't producing enough or for whatever reason, and they just left wreckage behind them. Wildlife oil slicked and dying, and water poisoned. The communities who were fishing communities could no longer live off the natural resources that they had depended upon for generations. So Habila and the film company parted ways, and he decided to put the story into a novel instead, and so Oil on Water was born. And that is not to say that there is no violence in this book. There is. There is a lot of death, and just some parts were very violent, and sometimes I had trouble remembering who the good guys were. I mean, the militant groups were kidnapping people, and they were heavily armed because they had to defend themselves against the army who was out trying to kill them to protect the oil industry. And the militants started out as an environmental activist group, and violence kind of breeds violence, and it all escalated until there was death and killing on both sides. So I had to remind myself who was supposed to be the good guys, but even then, kind of the definition of good guys got very blurry. And maybe that was the point. Maybe that was exactly the point that Helon Habila wanted to make. That and the environmental message, which definitely shines through in this book. Helon Habila himself was a journalist, and he used this book to comment on the role that journalism could play in the fight against environmental crisis and the responsibility that journalists have to convey this kind of information and tell these stories. The main character, Rufus, is the journalist, and he talks a lot about the kinds of stories he wants to write and the kind of journalist he wants to be. It's an interesting discussion on the role of the media in A, the information that we get, and B, how we feel about that information. It is no secret that some stories are not told how they should be told, and other stories are not told at all. Stories that might give us a more well-rounded view of certain situations. And I think journalists do have a lot of power in bringing some media attention to some of these issues. I think something that really struck me about how this book is written is that some of the most horrific scenes, some of the most devastating scenes, they were written so matter-of-factly. Like, there was almost no emotion in the way that it was written. Just kind of like, this is how it is. This is what happened. It's like journalism, but without the drama. Just reporting. And that kind of almost made it more shocking. Like, you realize that this is just real everyday life for some people. It's not just the stuff of nightmares. It's actual reality. And to see it written so simply was actually quite powerful. Simplicity is difficult to do, and simplicity with emotion is even harder, and I think Helon Habila did that very well. So all in all, not a particularly happy read, but it's such a powerful book that educated me on so many issues that I was not previously aware of. I think it's an important book for everyone to read because we do live in a fossil fuel society, and we should think about where that oil comes from. We're often kind of able to detach ourselves from the environmental injustices of the lifestyle that we have chosen to lead and our exploitation of the environment, but you just can't. It's impossible. Everything is intertwined, and those are people's lives. This might be a fictional story, but these are people's lives that he's talking about. Environmental justice means seeing the effects of how we live on people who are exploited for our convenience, and then doing something about it. So I think this book is incredibly important, and I think more stories like this should be told. Yes, it shoves it in your face, like, here, look, this is reality, and a lot of people won't enjoy that. I don't know if I can say that I enjoyed reading this book, but I do think it's important to force yourself to come face to face with some of those realities, because they are realities. So that's all I have for you today, really. I hope you, if not enjoyed, then at least appreciated my review of Oil on Water by Helon Habila. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you want more content on reading and writing ecofiction. Let me know down in the comments below if you have read this book and what your thoughts were, or if you are now planning on going out and reading this book, and then come back and tell me what your thoughts were. If you like what I do and would like to support me, then head on over to patreon.com/Ecofictology and become a patron, where your monthly donation buys me books like this, and you also support a marine conservation organization called Love the Oceans, operating out of Mozambique. If you want some community around your ecofiction reading or writing or researching, then join our Discord server, Rewelding Our Stories. You'll find opportunities to collaborate and just have discussions with people who love ecofiction just as much as you do. Invite for that is in the description below, along with the invite to the Ecofictology Facebook group, where you can also have these conversations if you so wish. So that's it from me, and I will see you next week, Ecofictologists. Okay, that is enough of that. On to... Really? that is enough of that.